Alright, let's get real for a minute. You're here because you're dealing with toxic people, and you're probably feeling drained, frustrated, and maybe even a little lost. It's like you're constantly walking on eggshells, trying to avoid setting them off, but it never seems to work. They always find a way to suck the energy out of the room, leaving you feeling depleted and questioning your own sanity. You might even be starting to wonder if you're the problem. Are you too sensitive? Are you overreacting? Are you just not good enough? Let me tell you something, you are not the problem. Toxic people are the problem, and they are masters at making you feel like it's your fault. But here's the harsh truth, the one that nobody wants to admit: if you're constantly surrounded by toxic people, it's not entirely their fault, it's also yours. I know, that stings. You're probably thinking, wait, what? I'm the victim here. And you are, in a way. But you're also allowing it to happen. You're giving them the power to affect you, to drain you, to control you. The good news is that you can take that power back. You can learn to handle toxic people in a way that protects your energy, your peace, and your sanity. And that's exactly what this is about. It's about equipping you with the tools and the mindset you need to navigate these difficult relationships and emerge stronger on the other side. Before we dive into the specifics, let's clarify what we mean by toxic people. We're not just talking about people who are occasionally rude or annoying. We're talking about individuals who consistently exhibit patterns of behavior that are harmful, manipulative, and emotionally draining. These are the people who constantly criticize and judge you, undermine your confidence, create drama and conflict, refuse to take responsibility for their actions, play the victim, and make you feel bad about yourself. They might be family members, friends, co-workers, or even romantic partners. The common thread is that they leave you feeling worse after interacting with them, not better. And here's another key point: toxic people don't just appear out of nowhere. They thrive on your boundaries, feeding off your reactions. They are experts at detecting weakness and exploiting it. If you have weak boundaries, if you're a people pleaser, if you're afraid of confrontation, you're basically rolling out the red carpet for toxic people to come into your life and wreak havoc. Now, most people let them get away with it because they're afraid of the alternative. They're afraid of confrontation, of hurting someone's feelings, of being seen as mean or selfish. They tell themselves things like, they don't mean it, they're just going through a hard time, I can fix them. But here's the reality: you can't fix toxic people. They are who they are, and they are unlikely to change unless they are willing to do the hard work themselves. And even then, there's no guarantee. The only person you can change is yourself. And that's where your power lies. You can't control their behavior, but you can control how you respond. You can set boundaries, limit contact, and protect your energy. You can outsmart them. This isn't about becoming a cold-hearted, unfeeling person. It's about recognizing your own worth and refusing to tolerate behavior that is harmful to your well-being. It's about prioritizing your mental and emotional health. It's about creating a life that is filled with positive, supportive relationships, not ones that constantly drain and deplete you. In this video, I'm going to reveal some brutally honest and foolproof ways to handle toxic individuals. These strategies aren't always easy, but they are effective. They require you to be honest with yourself, to set boundaries, and to sometimes make difficult decisions. But trust me, it's worth it. Because on the other side of those difficult decisions lies a life of greater peace, joy, and fulfillment. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. Dealing with toxic people is hard. It requires courage, strength, and a willingness to stand up for yourself. But you have that within you. You are stronger than you think. And by the end of this, you'll realize that your peace was always in your hands. You just needed the tools and the knowledge to claim it. So, let's dive in. 1. Forgive but don't forget. The first strategy, and arguably the most misunderstood, is forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood virtues. Many people think forgiving someone means you're weak, naive, or willing to overlook the pain they caused you. They think it means condoning their behavior, giving them a free pass, or inviting them back into your life with open arms. But true forgiveness is none of that. It's not about excusing someone's behavior or welcoming them back into your life with open arms. It's about liberating yourself from the chains of resentment. It's about releasing the anger, the bitterness, and the hurt that you've been carrying around. Think of resentment as a heavy weight that you're dragging behind you everywhere you go. It slows you down, it drains your energy, and it prevents you from moving forward. Forgiveness is like setting that weight down. It frees you to walk lighter, to move faster, and to pursue your goals with greater energy and enthusiasm. I learned this the hard way years ago. I had a close friend, let's call them Alex. We were inseparable, or so I thought. We shared everything with each other, or at least, that's what I believed. One day, I confided in Alex about something deeply personal, something that I was struggling with and that I hadn't told anyone else. I trusted Alex implicitly. I believed they would keep it between us, that they would offer support and understanding. But a week later, I found out they had shared my secret with others, twisting the story in a way that painted me in the worst possible light. The betrayal cut deep. It felt like a punch to the gut. I was furious, not just at Alex but at myself for trusting them in the first place. I replayed the conversation in my head, wondering if I had said something wrong, if I had somehow invited this betrayal. The anger stayed with me for months, maybe even years. Every time I saw Alex or even heard their name, it felt like the wound was reopening. I carried that resentment everywhere, like a dark cloud hanging over my head. It affected my mood, my relationships, and my ability to focus. I didn't realize how much it was weighing me down. I was so focused on the hurt that Alex had caused me that I couldn't see the damage I was doing to myself. Then, during a particularly low moment, I came across a quote: "Resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." That hit me hard. It was like a light bulb went off in my head. I realized that while Alex had moved on, living their life, I was the one trapped in a cycle of anger and hurt. My resentment wasn't punishing Alex, it was punishing me. So, I made the decision to forgive, but not in the way most people imagine. I didn't call Alex up to reconcile, nor did I invite them back into my inner circle. Instead, I forgave them silently, in my own heart. I let go of the anger, not for Alex's sake, but for my own peace. I realized that holding on to that resentment was like giving Alex continued power over me. By forgiving them, I was reclaiming that power. But here's the critical part: I didn't forget. Forgiving Alex was about releasing the emotional charge associated with the betrayal, but forgetting the betrayal would have been foolish. That betrayal taught me an invaluable lesson about trust, specifically who to trust and who to keep at a safe distance. Forgiving Alex allowed me to move forward without bitterness, but remembering the betrayal ensured I wouldn't make the same mistake again. Forgiveness is often seen as weakness, but in reality, it's the ultimate act of strength. It takes courage to release anger when holding on to it feels justified. It takes wisdom to understand that forgiveness doesn't mean giving someone another chance to hurt you. It's about choosing to heal yourself and move on with your life. Forgetting, however, is a different story. Forgetting invites the same pain back into your life. It's like leaving the door open for the toxic person to walk right back in and repeat their harmful behavior. Think of forgiveness like healing a scar. You don't keep reopening the wound, picking at it, and allowing it to fester. You allow it to heal, to scab over, and to eventually fade. But you also don't erase the scar. The scar is a reminder, not of the pain, but of the lesson. It reminds you of what you endured and what you learned. It doesn't define you, but it shapes your future decisions. The scar is a symbol of your resilience, your ability to heal and overcome adversity. The Stoics often emphasized the power of controlling your emotions, and forgiveness is a prime example of that. By forgiving, you take control of the narrative. You refuse to let the toxic actions of another dictate your peace. You acknowledge the hurt, but you choose not to let it consume you. By not forgetting, you protect yourself from falling into the same trap. You learn from your past experiences and use them to make wiser choices in the future. You become more discerning, more aware of red flags, and more confident in your ability to set boundaries. I'll leave you with this thought: forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not the person who hurt you. Forgetting, however, is a disservice to your growth. Let go of the bitter hold on to the lesson, and carry it with you as a shield, not a burden. Remember that forgiveness is a process, not an event. It may take time, and it may require you to revisit the hurt feelings from time to time. But with each act of forgiveness, you weaken the power of the toxic person and strengthen your own resolve. You are not condoning what they did by forgiving them, but you are freeing yourself from the shackles of resentment and choosing a path of healing and empowerment. You are not a doormat. You are a survivor, and you deserve to live a life free from the negativity and control of toxic people. So, embrace forgiveness, but never forget the lessons you've learned. Use those lessons to protect yourself and to create a life that is filled with joy, peace, and genuine connection. 2. Limit your access. Let's move on to the second strategy, which is all about limiting access. Let me be real with you: some people don't deserve a front row seat in your life. I don't care if they're family, lifelong friends, or colleagues you see every day. If someone's toxic, draining, or constantly disrespecting your boundaries, it's time to downgrade their access. Call it harsh if you want, but protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's survival. Think of your energy as a precious resource, like money or time. You wouldn't give it away to just anyone, would you? You'd be careful about who you invest in, who you spend your time with, and who you trust with your money. Your energy is the same way. It's limited, and it's valuable. Don't waste it on people who don't appreciate it or who drain it without giving anything back. Here's the thing: I used to be a people pleaser. If someone wanted my time, energy, or attention, I gave it, no questions asked. I'd stay on the phone for hours with a friend who only called to complain about their life, completely ignoring that I had my own struggles to deal with. Or I'd bend over backward for people who wouldn't even lift a finger for me in return. Sound familiar? I was constantly putting other people's needs ahead of my own, and I was left feeling exhausted, resentful, and unfulfilled. It hit me one day after yet another draining conversation with someone who seemed to think I was their unpaid therapist. I hung up completely exhausted and thought, why am I doing this? What am I even getting out of this relationship? That's when I realized not everyone deserves unrestricted access to you. Some people are like energy vampires. They suck the life out of you without even realizing it. They might not be intentionally malicious, but their negativity, their constant complaining, and their need for attention can be incredibly draining. Others are more deliberate. They might manipulate you, criticize you, or disrespect your boundaries in order to get what they want. Regardless of their intentions, the effect is the same: they leave you feeling depleted and unhappy. Here's where it gets controversial: limiting access doesn't always mean cutting someone off completely. Sometimes it's about setting subtle boundaries they don't even realize you've put in place. It's about creating a buffer zone between you and their toxicity. For example, that friend who always dumps their problems on you. Start responding with, "Wow, that sounds tough. What do you think you'll do about it?" Watch how quickly they lose interest when you stop feeding into their negativity. Or take that family member who always criticizes your life choices. You don't have to argue or explain yourself, just nod, smile, and keep your plans to yourself. Their disapproval loses power when they don't have the full story. I once had a coworker who thrived on gossip and drama. Every time they'd corner me in the break room with, "You won't believe what so-and-so did." I'd casually reply, "Oh, I'm not really into office drama," and walk away. It was awkward at first, but guess what? They stopped trying to drag me into their nonsense. They realized I wasn't a willing participant in their games. Limiting access is about recognizing that not everyone deserves a backstage pass to your energy and emotions. It's about creating layers, inner circles for those who uplift you and outer rings for the energy vampires. Your inner circle should be reserved for the people who genuinely support you, who celebrate your wins, and who are there for you during the tough times. These are the people who fill you up, not drain you. The outer rings are for those who you have to interact with but who you don't necessarily want to be close to. These are the people you might see at work or at family gatherings, but who you keep at a distance. You're polite, but you don't share personal information or engage in deep conversations. And yeah, some people might call you cold or distant for doing this, but ask yourself this: do you want to be liked by everyone, or respected by the right people? It's impossible to please everyone, and trying to do so is a surefire way to drain your energy and compromise your boundaries. Focus on building strong relationships with the people who truly matter, the ones who value you for who you are and who support your growth. Here's the jovial part: think of your life like a VIP club. You're the bouncer, and not everyone makes the list. The toxic complainers. General admission, if that. The drama queens. They can watch from the parking lot. And the people who truly value and respect you. They're in the VIP lounge with you, sipping the good stuff. They're the ones who deserve your time, your energy, and your attention. Limiting access isn't about being cruel, it's about being smart. Your time and energy are limited resources, don't waste them on people who don't appreciate them. Because here's the truth: when you start valuing yourself, the right people will value you too. And the wrong ones? They'll either shape up or show themselves out. Win-win. So, take a look at the relationships in your life and ask yourself, who's draining me? Who's uplifting me? Who deserves a front row seat, and who needs to be moved to the back of the theater? It's time to take control of your energy and create a life that is filled with positive, supportive relationships. You deserve it. 3. Use humor to disarm them. The third strategy in our arsenal for dealing with toxic individuals is to use humor to disarm them. Sometimes, the best way to handle a toxic person is to not take them too seriously. This isn't about mocking or belittling them, but rather about deflating their ego and disrupting their attempts to create drama. Toxic people thrive on tension, they feed off drama, arguments, and conflict. It's like they have a built-in need to stir the pot and create chaos. But what happens when you refuse to give them what they want? What happens when, instead of arguing back, you crack a joke, smile, or play along just enough to deflate their ego? It's like popping a balloon. Suddenly, their grand performance falls flat. They're left standing there, deflated and confused, wondering why their attempts to provoke you didn't work. I remember a particularly toxic coworker who loved to critique everyone. Nothing was ever good enough for this person, from their work to their outfits to even the way people drank their coffee. One day, they decided to comment on my unorganized desk in front of everyone. "Wow, your desk looks like a tornado hit it. How do you even find anything in this mess?" they sneered, clearly hoping to embarrass me. Now, in the past, I might have taken offense or tried to defend myself. I might have explained my organizational system, or lack thereof, or argued that my desk was just a reflection of my creative mind. But this time, I decided to try a different approach. Instead of taking the bait, I shrugged and said, "You're absolutely right. This is my creative chaos. Albert Einstein's desk was messier than mine, so clearly I'm on track for genius." The group laughed, and their attempt to embarrass me completely backfired. They were clearly taken aback by my response. They didn't know how to react to humor. After that, they never bothered me about my desk again. They realized that I wasn't going to give them the reaction they wanted. Using humor disarms toxic people for a few reasons. First, it takes the power away from their words. When you laugh at their insults or jabs, you show them that their attempts to hurt you aren't working. You're essentially saying, "Your words have no power over me." Second, it changes the energy of the interaction. Toxic people want negativity, they want drama, they want conflict. Humor brings levity and unpredictability, which they often can't handle. It disrupts their carefully constructed narrative and throws them off balance. Third, it puts you in control. By staying calm and witty, you show that you're unshakable, which can frustrate them more than any direct confrontation. You're essentially saying, I'm not going to let you control my emotions. But here's the key, your humor has to be light and clever, not aggressive or cutting. If your joke comes across as sarcastic or mean, it could escalate the situation and make things worse. The goal is to make their negativity look ridiculous without stooping to their level. You want to be the one who's laughing, not the one who's being laughed at. For instance, if someone keeps interrupting you in a meeting, you could say with a smile, "Wow, I didn't realize we were playing tag team speaking today. Your turn's over, though, it's mine now." It's firm but funny and gets the point across without creating unnecessary conflict. Humor also works well when toxic people try to guilt-trip you. If someone says, "Oh, I guess you're too busy to care about me these days," respond with, "You're on to me. I've been auditioning for the role of terrible friend, and it looks like I'm nailing it." It deflates their manipulative tactic while keeping things light. You're essentially calling them out on their guilt trip without being confrontational. Using humor doesn't mean you're dismissing the seriousness of their toxicity, it means you're refusing to let them drag you into their negativity. It's a subtle way of asserting your strength, proving that you're unbothered by their attempts to control or belittle you. It's a reminder that you're not going to let their toxicity define you. It's important to remember that humor isn't always the right response in every situation. There are times when a more direct and serious approach is necessary. But when used appropriately, humor can be a powerful tool for disarming toxic people and protecting your peace of mind. It's about finding the right balance between being assertive and being playful, between setting boundaries and lightening the mood. It's about showing them that you're not afraid of them and that you're not going to let them ruin your day. So, the next time you encounter a toxic person, try using humor to disarm them. You might be surprised at how effective it can be. It's a way to reclaim your power and to remind yourself that you don't have to let their negativity affect you. You can choose to laugh it off and move on with your life. 4. Know when to walk away. The fourth strategy, and perhaps the most crucial, is knowing when to walk away. Walking away from a toxic person is one of the hardest yet most liberating decisions you'll ever make. It's not just about leaving a bad situation, it's about reclaiming your peace, your time, and your energy. It's about prioritizing your well-being and refusing to tolerate behavior that is harmful to your mental and emotional health. But here's the kicker, it's not always dramatic or sudden. Sometimes knowing when to walk away is about quietly choosing yourself over their chaos, again and again. It's about making a series of small decisions that gradually distance you from their toxicity. It's about setting boundaries, limiting contact, and focusing on your own needs. Toxic people are experts at convincing you to stay. They'll say, "I'm sorry, I'll change," or guilt-trip you with lines like, "If you leave, you're giving up on me." They'll try to manipulate you into believing that you're the only one who can help them, that they can't survive without you. And let's be honest, there's always a part of you that wonders if walking away makes you the bad person. You might worry about hurting their feelings, about being seen as selfish, or about damaging the relationship beyond repair. You might even feel a sense of obligation, especially if the toxic person is a family member or a close friend. But here's the truth, staying in a relationship, whether it's a friendship, romantic connection, or family tie, that drains you isn't noble, it's self-destructive. You're not helping them by sacrificing your own well-being. You're enabling their toxic behavior and perpetuating a cycle of negativity. I once had a close friend who was the life of every party but a nightmare in private. In public, they were charming, witty, and outgoing. But in private, they were a completely different person. Every conversation was about their problems, their needs, and their drama. They constantly complained, criticized, and demanded attention. If I ever talked about my own struggles, they'd dismiss it or turn it into a competition. "Oh, you had a bad day. Let me tell you about mine," they'd say, launching into a lengthy description of their own woes. At first, I made excuses for them. "They're going through a lot," I'd tell myself. "They don't mean it." But as months turned into years, I realized I was pouring everything into this relationship and getting nothing back. I was constantly giving, and they were constantly taking. The breaking point came during a crisis in my life. When I needed them, I reached out, hoping for some support and understanding. Their response was, "That sounds rough, but I'm dealing with my own stuff right now." That's when it hit me: they weren't toxic because they were malicious, they were toxic because they simply didn't care. They were so wrapped up in their own problems that they were incapable of offering genuine empathy or support. I finally decided to walk away, and while it hurt, it also felt like a massive weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I realized that I had been carrying their emotional baggage for far too long. Walking away doesn't always mean cutting someone off completely. It might look like reducing contact, stop answering every call or responding to every text immediately. Let them fade into the background of your life. It might look like setting boundaries: "I'm not available to talk about this," or "I don't think I can help you with that anymore," are firm but respectful ways to step back. It might look emotionally detaching: even if you see them or speak occasionally, stop letting their opinions or behavior affect you. Their words have no power unless you give them power. The controversial part: sometimes walking away means leaving someone society expects you to stay connected to, like family. The idea that you must endure toxic relatives because their family is outdated and harmful. Blood ties don't give someone a free pass to abuse, manipulate, or drain you. You have a right to protect yourself, regardless of who they are. Walking away doesn't mean you hate them, it means you're choosing to protect yourself. It's an act of self-love, not an act of malice. Here's the deeper message: walking away isn't an act of anger, it's an act of love for yourself, your well-being, and the life you want to live. It's saying, "I deserve relationships that uplift me, not ones that tear me down." And when you finally walk away, you'll realize something powerful: you weren't just walking away from them, you were walking toward a healthier, happier you. You were creating space in your life for positive, supportive relationships to flourish. You were freeing yourself from the negativity and control of toxic people and opening yourself up to new possibilities. Walking away doesn't mean you've failed or given up, it means you've succeeded in recognizing your worth. It means you've chosen yourself over someone else's toxicity. Toxic people often leave you feeling like you're too much, not enough, or somehow to blame. But the moment you step away, you'll start to see the truth: it was never you, it was always them. Their toxicity is a reflection of their own issues, not a reflection of your value. And the best part: walking away gives you the freedom to fill your life with people who see your value and treat you accordingly. People who appreciate you for who you are, who support your dreams, and who make you feel good about yourself. Those are the people who deserve a place in your life. So, if you're dealing with a toxic person, ask yourself, is this relationship serving me? Is it adding value to my life? Or is it draining me, depleting me, and making me feel bad about myself? If the answer is the latter, it might be time to consider walking away. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. You deserve to be surrounded by people who love you, support you, and uplift you. Don't settle for anything less. 5. Surround yourself with uplifting people. The fifth strategy is all about creating a supportive and positive environment for yourself by surrounding yourself with uplifting people. Dealing with toxic individuals can feel like trying to swim with weights tied to your ankles. You're constantly dragged down by their negativity, manipulation, or drama. It's exhausting, demoralizing, and can leave you feeling like you're drowning. The best antidote is to surround yourself with people who lift you up. Uplifting people don't just bring positivity, they remind you of your worth, encourage your growth, and help you keep toxic energy at bay. They act as a counterbalance to the negativity in your life, providing you with the support and encouragement you need to stay strong and focused on your goals. Here's a simple truth: your environment shapes you. If you spend most of your time with toxic people, you'll inevitably absorb some of their habits, attitudes, or even their worldview. Their negativity will start to seep into your own thoughts and feelings, making it harder to stay positive and motivated. But when you're surrounded by people who genuinely want the best for you, something magical happens: you start to see the best in yourself. Their belief in you inspires you to believe in yourself. Their encouragement motivates you to pursue your dreams. And their positivity helps you to stay resilient in the face of challenges. Think about this: have you ever had a friend who makes you feel lighter after spending time with them? Someone who listens without judgment, celebrates your wins without jealousy, and challenges you in a way that feels empowering rather than condescending? Those are the uplifting people you need to seek out. Those are the people who will help you to thrive, not just survive. For me, there was a period in my life when I was stuck in a cycle of toxic relationships. I was constantly surrounded by people who were negative, critical, and competitive. I felt like I was always walking on eggshells, trying to avoid setting them off. It was exhausting and draining, and I started to feel like I was losing myself. Then, one day, I met a new colleague who was refreshingly positive and sincere. They'd say things like, "You're really good at this, why don't you take the lead?" or, "You handled that situation so well." Their encouragement was so genuine that it shocked me. I had been so used to backhanded compliments and subtle jabs from toxic people that I didn't even know what real support felt like. Spending more time with them and people like them showed me what I'd been missing. They didn't try to compete, undermine, or manipulate. Instead, they inspired me to believe in myself and to set higher standards for the relationships I allowed in my life. They helped me to see my own potential and to realize that I deserved to be surrounded by people who supported my growth and happiness. Here's how to surround yourself with uplifting people: identify your tribe. Look for those who inspire, encourage, and energize you. These might be old friends, mentors, or even new acquaintances. Pay attention to how people make you feel after you spend time with them. Do they leave you feeling energized and motivated, or do they leave you feeling drained and depleted? Invest in quality connections instead of trying to maintain a large circle of surface-level relationships. Focus on deepening bonds with a few genuinely uplifting people. Spend time with them, listen to them, and support them. Building strong relationships takes time and effort, but it's worth it. Reciprocate positivity. Relationships are a two-way street. Be the kind of uplifting person you want in your life. Listen, support, and celebrate others authentically. Offer genuine compliments, provide encouragement, and be there for them when they need you. The controversial part: this might mean cutting ties or limiting contact with people who don't uplift you, even if they've been in your life for years. Loyalty is a beautiful trait, but it's not worth sacrificing your peace of mind for someone who consistently drains you. You have a right to choose who you spend your time with, and you shouldn't feel guilty about prioritizing your own well-being. The deeper message is this: uplifting people don't just make you feel good, they remind you that life is meant to be shared with those who see the best in you. They help you grow into the version of yourself you're meant to be simply by believing in you and holding space for your potential. They create a safe and supportive environment where you can be yourself, pursue your dreams, and thrive. Here's the reality: toxic people will try to convince you that everyone is just as selfish, bitter, or manipulative as they are. They'll try to isolate you from positive influences and keep you trapped in their web of negativity. But uplifting people show you a different truth. They remind you that kindness, respect, and genuine connection still exist. They demonstrate that not everyone is out to get you and that there are people who genuinely care about your well-being. And once you experience that, you'll wonder why you ever settled for anything less. So, take a look at your social circle and ask yourself, who are the people who lift me up? Who are the people who drag me down? Who deserves a place in my inner circle, and who needs to be moved to the periphery? It's time to create an environment that supports your growth, your happiness, and your well-being. Surround yourself with uplifting people, and watch how your life transforms. 6. Refuse to engage in their games. Our sixth strategy for navigating the treacherous waters of toxic relationships is to refuse to engage in their games. Toxic people thrive on chaos. They're like emotional puppeteers, pulling strings to manipulate, provoke, or control you. Their games can be subtle, like guilt-tripping you into doing something you don't want to, or outright explosive, like stirring up drama to make themselves the center of attention. They're constantly testing your boundaries, looking for weaknesses, and trying to draw you into their web of negativity. The only way to win is to stop playing. Refuse to engage in their games entirely. This means not taking the bait, not reacting to their provocations, and not getting drawn into their drama. It's about staying calm, centered, and grounded in your own values, regardless of what they do or say. Here's the thing, toxic individuals are experts at baiting you. They'll say things designed to push your buttons or create situations where you feel like you have to respond. They know exactly what to say and do to get under your skin and elicit a reaction. But the moment you take the bait, they've won. You're on their turf, playing by their rules. You've given them the power to control your emotions and dictate your behavior. By refusing to engage, you take away their power and leave them spinning in their own chaos. You're essentially saying, I'm not going to let you control me. I remember dealing with a particularly toxic family member who loved to stir up arguments at gatherings. They'd throw out passive-aggressive comments like, "It must be nice to have so much free time, some of us actually work hard." They knew that this would trigger me because I was a freelancer and often felt like my work wasn't valued by my family. In the past, I'd try to explain myself or defend my choices. I'd tell them how much I worked, how hard I worked, and how much I enjoyed my work. But it only made things worse. They'd twist my words, escalate the argument, and somehow make me the bad guy. They were experts at turning things around and making me feel guilty for even trying to defend myself. One day, I decided to stop playing their game. When they made another snide remark, I just smiled and said, "You're entitled to your opinion," then changed the subject. I didn't get defensive, I didn't argue, and I didn't try to justify myself. They tried again, but I stayed calm and disengaged. I just kept repeating, "You're entitled to your opinion," and changing the subject. You could see the frustration on their face. They weren't getting the reaction they wanted. They were used to me getting upset and arguing back, and when I didn't, they didn't know what to do. Over time, they stopped targeting me because I refused to give them what they craved, drama. They realized that I wasn't going to play their game anymore, and they moved on to someone who would. Refusing to engage isn't about being passive, it's about being strategic. It's about choosing your battles and conserving your energy. It's about recognizing that not every argument is worth fighting and that sometimes the best response is no response at all. Here's how you can master this skill: recognize the bait. Pay attention to the patterns. What triggers you, and how do they try to provoke you? Once you spot their tactics, you can prepare to respond differently. Anticipating their moves allows you to stay one step ahead and avoid getting drawn into their games. Stay calm. Toxic people want an emotional reaction. Keep your composure and don't let their antics dictate your mood. Take a deep breath, remind yourself of your values, and choose to respond in a way that is aligned with your goals. Respond minimally or not at all. Sometimes silence is your best weapon. Other times, a neutral, non-committal response like, "That's interesting," or, "I see," is enough to shut them down. You don't have to explain yourself, defend yourself, or justify yourself. Just acknowledge their comment and move on. Set boundaries. Make it clear that you won't entertain their behavior. For example, "I'm not going to argue about this," or, "Let's talk when you're ready to have a productive conversation." Setting clear boundaries lets them know that you're not a pushover and that you won't tolerate their toxic behavior. The controversial part: refusing to engage doesn't mean being a doormat. It means choosing not to fight battles that aren't worth your energy. You're not letting them walk all over you, you're simply choosing to disengage from their drama. Toxic people may accuse you of being cold, dismissive, or even cowardly, but that's their way of trying to pull you back into the game. Remember, their opinion doesn't define you. Their words are just words, and you don't have to give them power over you. The deeper message here is about control, yours. By refusing to engage, you remind yourself that you don't owe anyone your energy, especially not someone who thrives on negativity. You're setting the terms for how you want to interact with the world, not letting someone else dictate them. You're taking back your power and choosing to protect your own peace of mind. Life is too short to be drawn into pointless arguments or toxic mind games. When you step back and refuse to engage, you're not running away, you're rising above. And in doing so, you're choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and power over manipulation. That's a game worth winning every time. Remember, refusing to engage is a skill that takes practice. It's not always easy, especially when you're dealing with someone who is skilled at pushing your buttons. But with each successful attempt, you'll become stronger and more confident in your ability to handle toxic people without getting dragged down into their drama. You'll learn to recognize their tactics, set your boundaries, and protect your energy. And you'll create a life that is filled with greater peace, joy, and fulfillment. 7. Stay focused on your purpose. The seventh key strategy in navigating toxic people is to stay laser-focused on your purpose. Toxic people love to derail you, it's one of their favorite pastimes. They thrive on distraction, pulling you into their chaos, drama, or petty schemes. It's almost like their mission is to make their problems your problems, to steal your focus and energy and direct it towards their own self-serving agendas. But when you're deeply focused on your purpose, your goals, your values, and the life you're actively building, their noise starts to fade into the background. Their attempts to distract, manipulate, or control you become less effective because you're anchored to something bigger, something more meaningful than their petty dramas. Staying focused on your purpose isn't just a defensive tactic, it's a power move. It's about taking control of your own life and directing your energy towards what truly matters to you. Here's the thing about toxic people, they want you to lose sight of yourself. They'll criticize your ambitions, downplay your achievements, or demand your attention at the worst possible times. Why? Because a focused person is a threat to their control. If you're too busy growing, thriving, or chasing your dreams, you won't have the time or the patience for their nonsense. You'll be less susceptible to their manipulation and less likely to get drawn into their drama. I once worked with a colleague who was the textbook definition of toxic. They'd gossip about everyone, create unnecessary drama, and constantly try to drag others into their mess. They were masters at playing the victim and making everyone else feel responsible for their problems. At first, I got caught up in it. I'd waste hours listening to their complaints, offering advice, or defending myself against their petty jabs. I felt obligated to help them, to be there for them, even though it was draining me emotionally and taking away from my own work. But then I realized something crucial: every minute I spent on their nonsense was a minute I wasn't spending on my work, my goals, or my peace of mind. I was sacrificing my own well-being to try and fix someone else's problems. So, I made a conscious decision: I would focus on what truly mattered to me and let their chaos play out without me. I started setting firm boundaries. I'm really busy right now, I can't get into this. I need to focus on my work, I can't chat right now. I avoided unnecessary conversations and poured my energy into excelling at my tasks, pursuing my goals, and taking care of myself. The more I stayed focused, the less power they had over me. They realized that I wasn't going to be their emotional dumping ground anymore, and they started to leave me alone. And the best part? My focus inspired others to do the same, leaving them with fewer people to manipulate and creating a more positive and productive work environment for everyone. Here's how you can stay focused on your purpose, even when surrounded by toxicity. Clarify your goals. Write down what you're working toward and remind yourself why it matters. Keeping your purpose front and center will make toxic distractions seem less significant. When you have a clear vision of what you want to achieve, it's easier to say no to things that don't align with your goals. Create a mental shield. Treat toxic people like background noise. Acknowledge their presence if you must, but don't let their negativity penetrate your focus. Visualize yourself surrounded by a protective shield that deflects their toxic energy. Say no unapologetically. If their demands don't align with your goals, don't hesitate to decline. Your time is valuable, spend it wisely. You don't owe anyone an explanation for prioritizing your own needs and goals. Find your motivators. Surround yourself with people, books, or habits that remind you of your purpose and fuel your determination. These could be mentors, friends, family members, inspiring books, podcasts, or even simple rituals like meditation or journaling. The controversial part, staying focused on your purpose might mean prioritizing yourself over relationships that don't serve you, even if those relationships are with close friends or family. Some might accuse you of being selfish, but here's the truth, focusing on your purpose isn't selfish, it's essential. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't achieve your dreams if you're constantly bogged down by someone else's negativity. The deeper message, staying focused on your purpose isn't just about ignoring toxic people, it's about honoring yourself. It's a declaration that your time, energy, and aspirations are too valuable to be wasted on someone else's drama. Toxic people may try to distract you, but your purpose is your anchor. When you're clear on what you're working toward, their negativity can't shake you. And as you continue to pursue your goals, something incredible happens. You build a life so fulfilling and grounded that their toxicity becomes irrelevant. At that point, you're not just surviving their chaos, you're thriving despite it. And that's the ultimate win. You've taken back your power, reclaimed your focus, and created a life that is aligned with your values and aspirations. You're no longer a victim of their toxicity, you're a master of your own destiny. So, stay focused on your purpose, and let that focus be your guide, your shield, and your source of strength. Don't let anyone steal your focus or derail you from your path. Your dreams are worth fighting for, and you have the power to create the life you desire. 8. Avoid gossiping about them. The eighth and final strategy, often overlooked but incredibly important, is to avoid gossiping about toxic people. Gossiping about toxic people might feel satisfying in the moment, like a harmless way to vent your frustration or even the score. It's tempting to share stories about their latest antics, to complain about their behavior, and to seek validation from others who have also experienced their toxicity. But let's be real, gossip never ends well. It keeps their toxicity alive in your life, turns you into the very thing you're trying to escape, and worst of all, gives them free rent in your head. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire, it only makes the situation worse. If you want to deal with toxic people effectively, resist the urge to talk behind their backs. Choose a higher path, a more productive and empowering approach. Here's the reality, toxic people are often fueled by attention, even negative attention. Gossip only feeds the drama they crave, making you an unintentional participant in their game. By talking about them behind their backs, you're giving them exactly what they want, your focus, your energy, and your attention. Worse, it creates a toxic cycle where their behavior starts dictating your actions. You become so consumed with their negativity that you start to mirror their behavior. That's the opposite of taking control. You're letting them control you, even when they're not around. I learned this the hard way. At one point, I had a coworker who was notoriously toxic, always stirring up conflict and dragging others down. They were constantly complaining, criticizing, and spreading rumors. A few of us would vent about them during lunch, sharing stories about their latest antics and complaining about their behavior. At first, it felt like camaraderie. We were bonding over our shared experience, and it felt good to know that we weren't alone in our frustration. But over time, I realized something unsettling. Every conversation about them left me feeling drained and bitter. I was so focused on their negativity that I was neglecting my own work and my own well-being. Worse, they somehow found out about our gossip and used it to paint themselves as the victim. They claimed that we were bullying them and that they were being unfairly targeted. It was a classic manipulation tactic, and it worked. We felt guilty and ashamed, and we realized that our gossip had only made the situation worse. From that moment on, I decided to stop engaging in gossip. Instead, I focused on maintaining my professionalism and addressing issues directly when necessary. If I had a problem with their behavior, I would talk to them privately and try to resolve the issue in a constructive way. It wasn't always easy. There were times I really wanted to vent, to complain, to share my frustrations with others. But I knew that gossip wasn't the answer. It only perpetuated the cycle of negativity and gave them more power over me. And I noticed a shift. By stepping out of the gossip loop, I reclaimed my energy and my integrity. I felt less stressed, less bitter, and more in control of my own emotions. I realized that I didn't need to talk about them to feel better, I needed to focus on my own well-being and my own goals. Here's how you can avoid gossiping about toxic people while staying sane: vent productively. If you need to release your frustration, do it with someone you trust who won't fuel the fire, like a mentor or therapist. Talk to someone who can offer objective advice and help you to process your feelings in a healthy way. Stick to facts, not insults. When discussing the situation with others, focus on the specific behaviors that are bothering you, rather than resorting to name-calling or personal attacks. This will help you to stay objective and avoid escalating the situation. Redirect the conversation. When others start gossiping about the toxic person, steer the discussion toward more constructive topics. For example, let's focus on how we can handle this situation better, or, I'd rather talk about something more positive. Focus on solutions. Instead of dwelling on their behavior, channel your energy into finding ways to protect your peace and move forward. This might involve setting boundaries, limiting contact, or seeking support from others. Practice empathy. While you don't have to excuse their behavior, recognizing that toxic people often act out of their own pain can help you rise above the temptation to gossip. Try to understand what might be driving their behavior, even if you don't agree with it. The controversial part: avoiding gossip might make you feel isolated in a world where venting about others seems like the norm. People might even accuse you of being too nice or passive. But here's the truth: avoiding gossip isn't about being nice, it's about being smart. Gossip chains you to the very toxicity you're trying to escape, letting it go sets you free. It's about choosing to prioritize your own well-being over the need to vent or seek validation from others. The deeper message is this: by refusing to gossip, you're choosing to break the cycle of negativity. You're proving to yourself and others that you won't let someone else's bad behavior drag you down to their level. Toxic people thrive on chaos, and gossip is just another form of it. By stepping away from the chatter, you starve them of the attention they seek and protect your own peace of mind. And in doing so, you demonstrate one of the most powerful forms of self-respect: the ability to rise above, even when it's tempting not to. Remember, avoiding gossip is a conscious choice, a commitment to your own well-being and a refusal to participate in the cycle of negativity. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Dealing with toxic people isn't about changing them, it's about protecting yourself. You can't control their behavior, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to set boundaries, limit contact, and refuse to engage in their games. You can choose to focus on your own well-being and surround yourself with uplifting people. And you can choose to rise above their negativity and create a life that is filled with joy, peace, and fulfillment. The truth is, toxic people will always exist. They are a part of life, and you will inevitably encounter them from time to time. But when you master the art of setting boundaries, staying focused, and refusing to play their games, they lose their power over you. You become immune to their toxicity, and you can navigate their presence without getting dragged down into their drama. Remember, your energy is precious. You have dreams to chase, goals to crush, and a life to build. Don't let anyone's negativity distract you from that. Stand your ground, choose your peace, and keep moving forward. Don't let their words define you, their actions control you, or their negativity consume you. You are stronger than you think, more resilient than you know, and more capable than you can imagine. You have the power to create the life you desire, and you deserve to be surrounded by people who love you, support you, and uplift you. So, take these strategies, put them into practice, and watch how your life transforms. You'll be amazed at how much peace and joy you can create when you prioritize your own well-being and refuse to tolerate toxicity in your life. If this helped you take a fresh perspective, leave a comment below and share your own strategies for dealing with toxic people. Your experiences and insights can help others who are struggling with similar situations. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights to help you live a stronger, more purposeful life. I'm committed to providing you with valuable content that will empower you to take control of your life, achieve your goals, and live your best self. You've got this. Now go claim your power, set your boundaries, and create a life that is filled with joy, peace, and genuine connection. You deserve it. See you in the next one.